Parent Entrepreneur Power, conversation number 184.
Parent Entrepreneur Power.
Wait, what? Entrepreneur Power!
This is the podcast for parents juggling the tough choices required for success in business while putting family first. Hi, I'm Mary Catherine Johnson, and I share the ups and downs and dirty truths of profits and potty training while chatting with successful parent entrepreneurs from all walks of life. Are you powered up? Hey there, Power Parents. Guess who? Mary Catherine Johnson here. You know that. But what you don't know is the person that's on the other line, the person I get to chat with today and that you get to listen in on our conversation. I can't wait to share with you. All right, today I've got Scott Alan Turner. He is the author of 99-Minute Millionaire. I cannot wait to hear about 99-Minute Millionaire, that's for sure. Hey there, Scott. Welcome to the conversation. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, Mary. Thanks for having me on the show.
You are very welcome. Thanks for gracing the mic. All right, so you know where we always start. Everybody knows where we start. Give us your once upon a time story. How did you get into this whole gig? How did you become a parent and an entrepreneur at the same time? Which came first, the kids or the business?
The businesses came far, far earlier than the kids did. I've had 8 different companies over the past 17 years, I want to say. Just celebrated 12 years of marriage, but we waited a very long time to have kids. We have twin 3.5-year-olds right now.
Oh, my goodness. I waited a little bit longer than you. I waited 15 years, so
okay.
I get it. I get it, definitely. Wow, twin 3.5-year-olds. I think you're having fun.
We're having a great time. We have one boy and one girl. We actually started when we just got married with twin fur kids, cats that came from the same litter. So that wasn't not quite the same, but
I don't think that prepared you very well. I don't think so.
No, the cats take care of themselves. The kids a little bit more needy.
Yeah, I think so. So, all right. So tell me a little bit more about that. You had, you said 7 businesses in the last 15 years, or was that right?
I'm on number 8 right now.
8
My
and
wife,
17.
yes.
Got it.
My wife and I have run 3 together. So the business that came just before the kids, we started in 2007. My wife and I did. We created an online business where we taught architects and general contractors about green building and energy efficiency and design. So that's a mouthful. It was online training, is what we essentially.
It was
did.
the kind of the lead exam kind of thing. A little more
Exactly.
detail, sounds like.
That's exactly what it was.
Got
and we
it.
ran that for a number of years, and we were never going to have kids. When we got married, we're like, we're going to enjoy life, having a good time, with no vision of kids whatsoever. Then we were married a few years and thought, well, maybe we'll have some kids, entertain the idea. We thought about adopting, and the situation presented to us, or we were able to have our own kids. Ended up with twins. My wife went through IVF. Mm-hmm. And that was in the midst of running this company, going through a sale process of it, and starting another business at the same time. So the kids were born in 2013. They were 5 weeks premature. I spent those 5 weeks working out of the hospital, out in the lobby each morning.
Definitely. Wow. So you were one of those crazy people who actually had a startup business at the same time as you had a startup family.
Actually, 2. I mean, we had one that we were running, trying to sell, and then the second one we were trying to build at the exact same time. So my days looked like work all the time, generally 12 hours a day. And since my wife was in the business as well, she worked as well. She got the customary 2 weeks off of maternity leave as an entrepreneur.
Aren't you sweet?
Yeah. It's back to work. There's nobody else to do your job. You've got to do it.
Wow. Yeah. The job of mom and entrepreneur and dad and entrepreneur. Yeah. That's what it's really incredible how, and I'm sure you recognize this now with 3.5-year-olds, not necessarily, they're not in middle school or school age or anything like that, but really business follows and parenting follow the same track. Startup is just like the newborn stage, right? It takes all your time, all your energy, all your effort. You think, you live, you breathe this new thing. So that's exactly the same as newborn. And then as the child grows, you have the same exact stages happening in your business. The toddler stage, they're growing, they're trying new things, they're trying to walk, they fall back a bit, and they have huge growth spurts, and then they fall back a bit. That's our business experience is the exact same thing, and it's exact same kind of toddler stage. As you go in the middle school and all that, and you've already had your exit strategy for your business. So when you get to the exit strategy for your kids, you should be able to recognize it pretty clearly.
Yes.
Wow. All right. So tell me, so all these businesses, I mean, are they in different industries? I mean, tell me about your first business. What did you do with your very first business?
The very first one, a couple guys approached me. They were coworkers of mine, and they said, "Hey, we'd like you to join our company that we're starting. I have an IT background, and I have a lot of internet, web experience, e-commerce." They said, "We need that component for the business. We don't have any money to pay anybody, so we'll give you ownership in the company." And it was something that I enjoyed a lot doing, so I said, "Sure, I'll sign up. You give me some ownership. I'm not going to get paid." And we went about and built that. That was a side hustle. I worked on that in the evenings and the weekends, and I did that for 3 years without collecting a penny. So it was a lot of enjoyment and time and sacrifice, but that enabled me to peel away from my corporate job and go out and do my entrepreneurial things. So that was my first taste of entrepreneurship. Not exactly being a business, running the business, wasn't the CEO hat, but being an owner.
So tell me the difference between those two things. CEO hat and owner.
I'd say one makes a lot more decisions. As a CEO, you've got the ability to guide the business. You want to pivot. You don't have to ask anybody. No input. You want to put your money over here, you go ahead and do that. Put it over there, you go ahead and do that. As someone who has a minor stake in a business, which I had in this particular case, it was more of, all right, I've got ownership. I've got a large portion of equity in it, but I get to focus on what I do best and wear a lot less hats. And at the time, it was web development, database stuff, marketing, and a lot of those other little things, as opposed to trying to make payroll and figure out accounting and all those other things.
So are you saying that it was easier in one than it was in the other, or more rewarding in one than it was in the other?
I would say it's a heck of a lot easier, because now the business that I run, now I'm into personal finance. It's a business where my wife does not participate. And that was one of the things when I started down this path. I said, we run 3 companies together. I'm going to do this one on my own. She's got her own thing that she's doing now. Now it's completely different, because now I'm the one responsible for the books and thinking about hiring employees and managing the contractors. So I've got all these different hats, which I've not worn in the past. It's a little bit more challenging.
So this one now is the CEO one versus before the owner was easier, you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And it's fun. I enjoy the learning part of it, but there's still things that I do not enjoy doing. I don't care to do the books. I don't know if anybody really cares to do the books, except for those people who go out and be bookkeepers, because that's what they like.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm lucky enough to have one of those living with me. I have my wonderful husband who's a tax accountant, so he handles all that for me. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. My wife used to do all that stuff in the prior businesses. Now I realize what amazing job that she did.
Yes, I know. It's crazy. All right. So so I got to know a little bit more here. So how in the world did you go from one business to the next to the next? I mean, I know, and I'm hoping you would agree with me, but once your mind expands and your experience expands so that you know you can do this, once you do the first business and you prove to yourself that you can do it, then it's like ideas just germinate without you even asking them to. And you come up with all these amazing things that you can do. And so then you start to pursue them and see and test them out and see if they might be viable businesses, because you know how to do it from the first time. So is that kind of what happened to you with all these different businesses, or tell me that progression?
Yeah. And getting back to what you said, you can do them, not necessarily that you should do them all.
Yes.
My path that worked for me, and it was over the course of many, many years, I had a corporate job, and then in the evenings and weekends, I would do my side gig. And then I moved to another corporate job, evenings and weekends, and do my side gig. At one point, the side gig became so much better than my day job, I went and did that. But at the same time, I started having these other ideas. All right, now my own company, which I would work on during the day, and then in the evenings and weekends, I would switch gears and work on a different company. And I did this for years and years and years. I don't remember how many years I did this. I kind of still do it. Actually, now I'm remembering. Up until about a year and a half after the kids were born, that's when I finally stopped and said, all right, I'm just going to work on one business for now. And I do that now during the day. And then the family is the evenings and the weekends. So it's a little bit different. That was my process. It worked for me. It was a grind. It was a lot of sacrifice, but it enabled me to achieve financial freedom at a very early age. I'm quote unquote early retiree. I work because I want to, not because I have to. And for me, the sacrifice early on, I think I'd probably do it again. I mean, I didn't have the kids early on, so that was one of the factors that allowed me to do that. I can see people who have families. That's a huge sacrifice when you have the day job and you're doing the side gig in the evenings and the weekends. It takes a lot of family time away.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a classic movie called The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. Gregory Peck, I believe, is the actor. Classic movie back in, I think, the maybe late 50s, early 60s. And it depicts that difference between the person who is willing to make those sacrifices even with a family and build a huge company, and the person who says, you know what, nope, I'm fine. I'm just going to do this little gig over here, this little job, and concentrate on the family. It's a really good movie. I recommend if anybody's interested. But so what was that a conscious decision then about a year and a half after the kids came, or did you just kind of say, you know what, I'm kind of done with this and don't need to do it anymore?
Yeah, I really didn't need to do it anymore. And part of it was when the children were born and we had the business we were trying to sell and the other business we were trying to start. It was awful in terms of the marriage sense and the family sense. My wife would describe it as one of the worst years of our lives, the year after the kids were born, with all the work that was going on and having the family and the new twins at home. And it was a matter of, all right, I love you, wife. I'm going to respect your opinion. We're going to try to scale it down as much as possible. And now we're just in a financial spot where I'm working on my one company, try not to take it too seriously, even though it's a serious topic, but I'm not going to kill myself. I don't need to do that anymore.
So what would you, so now, of course, I hate the whole hindsight idea because we are not in any way in that same mindset back that with our current understanding and experience. There's no way we can go back to that place and actually be in the same mindset. If we were in the same mindset, we'd make the same choices. But if you say there's someone out there thinking about, you know, gosh, I have this idea and it's probably going to take a huge amount of sacrifice and you know, struggle for me and hustle, I don't know if I should do it. Would you recommend they hustle like that? Or if they're not financially free like you are, what would you say to that person?
I think when it's important to keep a perspective on things. As entrepreneurs, I've gone through this, and you probably have to. We have this mindset: we got to do it now. If I can just get over this hump, then everything's going to be perfect until I get to the next hump, and then I got to get over that, and then it's going to be perfect. Yes. And we're always trying to. I call it chasing the wind. You're always trying to chase the wind and catch it, and you never catch it. Right. And it took me years and years and years and years to realize I'm never going to catch the wind. And now I'm out of a mindset, you know, take it easy. We can build this thing slow. Maybe you don't work 4, 5, 6 hours every evening and every Saturday and Sunday. Maybe you work a couple hours at night and every other weekend. If that's what the family has agreed to, all right, family, you know, I'm really into this. I'm passionate about it. I believe that we can turn this into a viable business long term. Just take it a little bit slower and don't try to kill yourself early on. We can always make more money. And I think as business owners, we're always trying to make more. And then you get more, and it's like, all right, I want more and more and more. I think it's important to ask ourselves, what do we want? I mean, do we want a modest income so that we can work at home and have some type of life? Or do you want $10 million? All right, maybe you want $10 million. What for?
Right. Wow. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's based on your choices. It's all, whenever someone says, you know, there's balance, this whole thing about balance in life, I really don't agree with that word at all. It really is just a matter of choices, sometimes minute by minute choices. Okay. So the babies are napping. Okay. And because I raised my kids while I was working at home, building a business. So the babies are napping. I'm making a choice to hit it hard and do whatever I can do. When they wake up, I got to make a choice. Am I going to occupy them with crayons and coloring books, or a Thomas the Tank Engine episode, or am I going to take them to the park? Those are all choices we have to make, and we just make them. We just decide, stressing over them, worrying about them. Am I spending enough time with the kids or the business or all those kinds of things? If you break it down to more logical choices like that, it's not so stressful. So,
yeah, I heard a good term the other day, speaking of work-life balance. And when you think balance, I work 40 hours and then I'm going to spend 40 hours with my family. That's just not even possible,
right.
Because when you're talking 40 hours of work, all right, you've got to commute for an hour, you're going to eat lunch. It ends up being 50 or 60, whether you like it or not. And there's not that balance on the flip side for everything else: sleeping, eating, taking a bath, brushing your teeth, playing with the family. It's impossible to have work-life balance. So the term I heard was work-life integration, which is exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's, all right, we're going to go on vacation, but I'm going to hop on the laptop an hour or two in the afternoon when the kids are taking a nap, as you said, or doing something like that, to pursue something that's going to bring joy to my life.
Right. That's it. It's a choice. And whether we're on vacation, whether we're home, we create our life based on those choices. That it's the life we get based on the choices we make. So, yeah. Exactly. All right.
Absolutely.
So tell me about this book. All right. So author of 99-Minute Millionaire. What the heck?
I host a podcast and radio show called the Scott Allen Turner Show. I teach people about personal finance. So I'm the former money moron back in my early days. And I teach the concepts and the things that I wish I had known back when I got out of school, got out of college, so help people avoid all the money mistakes that I make. And one of the top questions I get from people is, how do I get started investing? And it's a scary topic. There's lots of financial terms and everything. I sat down late last year or middle of last year and decided I want to challenge myself. I'm going to write a book that can be read in 99 minutes, depending on your reading speed. And I want to walk somebody through, here's why you should invest. Power of compound interest. Here's all the investment terms that you're going to need to know. What's a stock? What is the stock market? How does it work? And then by the end of the book, you can become a beginning investor that will outperform 99% of Wall Street professionals.
Amen.
That is the whole book, and it's a really quick read. It was a great time writing it. It's got tons of food analogies. I'm a big foodie, so there's all kinds of donut stories and cookies in there, and pizza.
Okay, well, you're just going to make me hungry and want to invest at the same time. What's up with that? That's awesome. Yeah, I had a feeling you might have been a podcaster. I can hear it in your voice and your microphone. It's awesome. Thank you so much. So definitely power parents. We call ourselves power parents, Scott, because really once you've gone through potty training, business is nothing. You got
Yes.
this, right? You got it. You know it. So if you can handle that, getting kids to do something and understanding and figuring out if they're ready to do it, figuring out how to get them to do it. If you can figure that out, you can do anything you need to do in business. So that's why we have the power already as parents to have success in business. So power parents, I have a feeling you need to go listen to Scott's podcast and get this book. So tell me a little bit more about some of the lessons that you talk about, because when you piqued my interest, because my oldest son is going to start this fall as a sophomore in college. So my first question to you, based on this information in this book and your experience, would you even advise him to finish college?
That's an interesting question, because we've been groomed, at least our generation, maybe not so much as the up and coming generations, that the path to life is graduate high school, you got to go to college, you got to work a 9-to-5 job, and you retire at age 65.
Right.
And the people that are coming out of school now, they're challenging that. And even high schoolers are beginning to challenge that as well, that no, that's not necessarily the best path for everybody. You can go into a trade and make a really, really good amount of money, whether you want to be an electrician, plumber, sheet metal worker. Those trades are in high demand because they're not being replaced as people retire. All right, and maybe you don't want to do that, but you can be an entrepreneur or a business owner. I'm really looking forward to teaching my kids business and entrepreneurship as they grow up, things that I didn't have exposure to. So I think it's important as parents, we challenge our kids if they're in school now, if they're getting out of school, do you really want to do this? Why are you going to school? A lot of kids go to school and, all right, I don't know what I'm going to be, but I'm going to go pay $30,000 a year for a couple of years, and then I'll figure it out. Well, then you're $60,000 in debt, and you're just limited a lot of choices because you got to pay that back.
Right. Yeah, it's a big question right now, isn't it? Because of this many different reasons. Number one, I think the opportunities that we have now, that you and I have both experienced and capitalized on. These opportunities weren't as lucrative or easy as they were before. I mean, you had to go get a loan. You had to go to the bank or go to investors or go to your friends and family and say, hey, can you lend me money to start this thing? And some businesses, that's still the case. You still have to have a lot of startup capital. We understand that. But the business you're talking about with courses, with teaching people finance, that doesn't require any kind of loan or floating money or a large investment to start with. And there are many, mostly online, obviously, not necessarily brick and mortar, but online businesses that you can start from an expertise that you have that don't require that. So number one, we have the opportunity. Number two, I agree. Not everyone knows what it is they need to do. So, my oldest is in that place. He has some interests, but really there's nothing that's grabbed him in the way of, this is a career I want to have, so I need to go to college to learn this particular career and get a job at it. He hasn't found that yet. There's nothing in his life that he is drawn to in that way. So he started out editing my podcast. And so he has this skill of editing podcasts. And he offered it up to other people who need podcast editing. And he has clients that he's editing podcasts. He's still going to college, still trying to search for what he might need to do. He also has a part-time job, so he gets that understanding of what that means to go to work every day and have a schedule that you have to keep for an employer. Because I do think that's at least important for an 18-year-old, right? Who's never had to do that, right? We know what we're talking about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, he could sleep in all day if he didn't have that and just sleep and do whatever he wants. But that kind of discipline you really don't get anywhere else unless you're in, even if you're in sports and all those kinds of things. You still have a season you do and practices, and then you're done and you can relax. But a job is a job is a job, and you go to it every day no matter what's happening. Whatever the season, whatever the time of year, it doesn't matter. It's a job. So to get that experience, you really can't get it anywhere else. But just to expose him to those things. So he's right now, the reason I ask that, of course, I'm being very selfish in the fact that this is my show and you are my guest, and I would love to pick your brain about this. I'm being selfish in it because he's in that place right now. So I really appreciate your advice along that way. And when your kids, the 3.5-year-olds, get up to that place, who knows what it's going to be? Because it's changing so fast.
Yeah, I imagine my kids being 15 years from now. Well, they're going to be super brilliant because they're going to learn all this stuff. So who knows? They may be heading out to college at 12. Probably not.
Of course.
I'm a big fan of the gap year. The more I've learned about this is, all right, you graduated high school, you have no clue what you want to do. Work for 6 months, save up some money, and then go travel the world. Figure it out. See if you can figure it out. Maybe you want to be a barista in New Zealand, and you're going to enjoy doing that, but you get to explore.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I tried to get my son to do that, but he has a girlfriend, and those are kind of hard to leave.
Yes.
For years at a time. So anyway, who knows what'll happen with that. Wow. Okay. So in this book, thank you for sharing that first off. And thank you, Power Parents, for listening in on that journey. I appreciate being able to pick your brain on that. But so in your book, what is one of the lessons that you think, let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I'm getting some little bit of success where I have maybe say $10,000 or $20,000 that's actually in a savings that I don't need to use specifically in my business to run my business, but it's extra, that it's sitting there. What advice would you give me on that? And what would you think I should do? Or is that what your book is talking about? Or does it talk more about, my own personal investments, what I might need to make? Give me more information.
Yeah, I think in either of those cases, whether you've got extra money in the business or personal money, I think it's important And I realize as entrepreneurs, we want to funnel everything back in the business with the idea of, I'm not going to take a salary, or I'm going to live off breadcrumbs, and I'm going to grow this for 5 years and sell it off and make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That's putting all your eggs in one basket. It's not being well diversified, knowing that 80% of businesses are going to fail within 4 to 5 years.
Right.
If you're an employee, you need to set aside a specific portion automatically each month, whatever that happens to be, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you can do. Is it 1% of your salary, 5% of your salary, 10% of your salary? Or if you're an entrepreneur, as money comes in, commit to saving 1%, 2% outside of the business for long-term goals, whatever those happen to be. Retirement, a new house down the road, a vacation, whatever it is that floats your boat. But taking that out and rewarding yourself for something that's down the road in the future, investing it. My suggestion is not putting it into a savings account. I mean, get that money working in the stock market and compounding it and growing. Money that's sitting in savings account, it loses buying power just because of inflation. And interest rates are at 0% right now, so you actually lose money by leaving it in there. Whereas if you're invested over a long period of time, you just set it in there and let it grow, you end up with a lot more wealth down the road.
Well, and thank you very much for using that word wealth, because it's all well and good to say in the savings account, and I'm parroting what I've heard other people say. So it's all well and good to say savings account, it isn't working for you. It's you're losing money, all those things and things. Invest it in the stock market. But once you do, it's no longer your money until you sell whatever it is you just bought in the stock market. And you are, no matter what, taking a risk that once you buy this thing in the stock market, this stock or these bonds or whatever it is you're buying, it's no longer your money. And the only way you have access to it is to sell it. And when you sell it, you have to rely on whatever it's worth at that time you sell it. So thank you for using the word wealth, because cash is cash and stock is stock. So one you can use immediately, one you can't until you sell. What about that idea? How do you combat that and really look at more of, and I thank you also for saying long term. This is not just buying and selling to hopefully make a quick buck. This is investing and leaving it or adapting as your situation changes. I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Exactly. There's nothing I speak on in my show or my website that has to do with getting rich quickly. It doesn't exist. There are stories out there. Yeah, those are what make the news. That's the one person who won the lottery because they bought some Microsoft stock for 10 grand and was worth $1 million 10 years ago.
Right.
But that's not the 99.999% of other people who invested incorrectly, improperly, worked with a bad money manager or whatever, and lost a ton of money. That's not news. No one wants to hear about that.
Right.
So the strategy I share and encourage people to follow, all right, it's consistently saving month after month, year after year, decade after decade. I did not do this early on. That was one of my money moron moments. I lost $40,000 doing day trading, buying independent stocks, thinking I knew what I was doing. Lost 40 grand. So I got my lesson early on.
Yeah.
And then learned the right way to invest long-term, every month, low-cost index funds. That's the fancy term for them. And that's one of the key wealth builders in my life that allowed me to retire early.
So when did that happen? How old were you when you lost that money and then woke up to reality? And how long did it take for you to, when you say retire early, to do that?
Sure. I was 25 in the corporate world when I lost all that money, reading investing books that were not the best investment books. That's one of the reasons I had to go out and write my own. So teach people, don't do what I did, do what I do now, because that's the right way. And everything I do or talk about when it comes to investing, it's not new. It's been around for a long time. It's all based on academic research. So it's not, here's Scott's investing plan. It's here's what all the university professors say. Here's what the academic research behind it. Here's why it works. And here's why you should believe it. Nobel Prize winning research, famous economists, if there's such a thing, but it's all based on facts, not the guy yelling on the nightly news or the nightly MSNBC, whatever he is, selling the latest hot stock tip.
Yeah.
And so that was at age 25. I was a millionaire at age 35, and I was an early retiree a couple years ago.
couple of years ago being 10 years
I'm
later? Five?
I'm 44 now.
Okay, got
So
it. So
early
in 10
early
years.
40s.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you say millionaire at 35, was that through investing or was that through creating a business and selling the businesses and all those businesses that you've had?
It was part investing, part living a frugal lifestyle. Some of it was choice, some of it was life circumstances. After I got married, we downsized homes a number of times, and some of it was through being a business owner. It wasn't one specific thing. It was the compounding power of all three of these things coming together, which allowed me to build a lot of wealth in a short period of time.
So again, choices.
Yes.
So what I hear you saying is instead of getting into debt, buying big expensive things to feel good about what it is you have and show how amazing these things are that you have when you're building wealth, being frugal, living according to your means, and saving money and investing it wisely will get you the actual wealth to be able to buy those big things without debt.
Yes, and that is a choice. Believe me, I had some awesome stuff when I was young and single. I mean, I had an awesome car, I had a really expensive home, and then I realized you're an idiot, and so this is not the way to be living. I got rid of my car. After I got married, we sold my house, and I moved in with my wife in her townhouse. Then from there, we sold her house, moved into a rental home, and then from there, we moved in with my in-laws for a year, rented one of their bedrooms. That's where some of the frugality came in. Again, some of that's choice, some of that was life circumstances. But when you're saving that particular year, 90% of your income, because you're living in a bedroom in somebody else's house, you can save a lot of money. You get ahead pretty quick in life. But those choices, those things that happened early on, that allows me to experience the life I have today. See my kids every day. They're home. We send them to daycare a few days a week, but just to get them out of the house. But we spend time with them on Mondays and Fridays. I've gotten to watch them grow up. I've never missed a first step, a meal, anything that's ever happened to them. I've seen it all, as has my wife. We both work from home. So those are priceless things that none of that money could have bought.
Thank you so much, and thank you for letting me ask those very direct questions because it's so important to know that you got where you are not because of some scheme. Like you said, this is not get rich quick. This is not just do my wonderful plan, buy the stocks I recommend you buy, and you'll be like me. Those are the gurus that are selling you the snake oil. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's not cool at all. Don't follow them. Don't do that. This is real life. The fact that you get nothing for free. There is no quick fix. There is no quick money and get rich now. That doesn't exist. Look at, even though you say 25, you lost that, 35, you're a millionaire. Now you're retired at 44. That's 20 years of experience. It took you 20 years to retire early. Not
exactly.
Not
yeah.
2 months.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I wish I had come up with the great, brilliant idea where you could make, $1,000 really quick. It's funny because I consider myself part consumer advocate, and sometimes I get these seminars. I call them scaminars, scaminar things or advertisements, and I will go to them and I'll report back to them on my show and say, this is not, it's a scam. Save your money.
Yes.
And I like to tell my listeners, you don't have to believe me. I'm set one way or the other. You believe whatever you want. I mean, you can believe this guru, you can believe that guru, you can go out and do your own investing thing. At the end of the day, 10, 20 years down the road, you're going to look back and say, you know what? That guy was right. I should have listened to him.
Yeah. And you're going to be looking in the mirror going, why did I waste all that time and money? Thinking, chasing after. There's another movie for you, and I'm not typically, a trivia person sitting here talking about movies, but, Death of a Salesman. There's another one. It started out a play, and it's basically chasing that quick fix, chasing that next quick buck, chasing that one thing that's once you do it, just like you talked about when we first started talking, that's chasing the wind. Chasing that one thing that if you just get this one thing, everything else will just fall into place and be perfect and I'll be a millionaire for the rest of my life. That doesn't exist. And you're wasting time and energy and money and relationships and choices on chasing those things. When if you just one little baby step at a time and build and build and build, you'll get that thing that you're chasing instead of the next one little thing that's going to just give you that thing instantly. If you do it one baby step at a time, you'll get there.
Absolutely. And I do talk a lot about food and health and weight in the book. I think they're very closely interrelated. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, you figure I'm 150 pounds overweight. I mean, how can I lose that 150 pounds? I don't know, in the next 48 hours? Well, you can't. You can't. It's a long process, and you eat a little bit less each day or work out a little bit more. And then over the course of a year or 2 years, you get down to your desired weight. And building wealth is the exact same way. You cannot exponentially increase your wealth overnight or in a month or 6 months or a year. Building a business the same way, since we're entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. If you're just launching your business, all right, you might not make money for the next 6 months. And that's okay. That's normal. Hopefully you're learning something during the process. But if you keep at it piece by piece over time, a year, 2 years, 3 years, I remind people, that first business, I worked 3 years every evening, every weekend, and did not get paid a penny for the first 3 years. And that was okay. I was good with that. And then from there, things started taking off. It was worth it, but it took time.
It just, when you were talking about that, it just brought to mind something. And I'm in the middle of writing a book, and my head is wrapped around this whole topic that I'm writing about. And talking to you, I know there are reasons that things happen at particular times. And oh my gosh, I just had an absolute realization. So just a quick background on me, and I know my listeners know this, but I don't think you do. I've been in online business for, since 2003. And all through that process, each thing I've done and tried and changed and grew and learned and all those things has led me to right now. And the business I'm just started back in February has exploded. And it's not because I had this huge amount of money to invest in it, or there's this huge new thing that I all of a sudden sold one thing and made $1 million or anything like that. It's because of the intellectual wealth that I've built over those 14 years that has brought me to the exact place at the right time with the right knowledge to capitalize on this latest gig. So in that same sense, you can apply that concept to weight loss, to food, to investing, to entrepreneurship, and to your intellect or experience or knowledge, and get the same results. But no matter what, I could not instantly, from 2003 to now, acquire that knowledge that would allow me to capitalize on this latest opportunity. I had to grow it and learn it and experience it all through those years in order to be in the right place at the right time with the exact right knowledge to explode this business. Isn't that amazing? Thank you for that.
That is. And I love the story of Michael Phelps, greatest Olympian ever. Mm-hmm. And people think, well, he's just tall and lanky. No wonder he's winning. And his story is he trains 7 days a week. Most other swimmers will train 6. So by the end of 4 years of the Olympic cycle, whatever it is, he has trained 1,000 days or several hundred days more than any other competitor. Right. He's gone on interviews and said, we're out there training. We're doing a little bit every day. You're just putting a little bit more in the tank, referring to the gas tank, I guess. A little bit more in the tank so that when the time comes and you're at the competition, you're ready. You built it all up over these 4 years getting ready for this. That is one of the reasons he's the greatest ever, because of all that effort that he's put in over those years prior to showing up at the Olympics.
Yeah. That's it. And you can apply that to any part of your life, anything. Parenting, I mean, the same thing. We have to adapt to all those stages and they constantly change. And now all of a sudden you wake up, I remember it. You wake up and go, who is this kid? It's not the same kid as it was yesterday. The things I used yesterday don't work today. So I've got to adapt and change and grow and go through all that experience to get to the teenage years and then just throw it out the window. I'm just telling you now, throw it out the window because it's not going to work at all. But then you get through the teenage years and hopefully it works again and the communication and the relationship changes. But oh my goodness. So wow, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Power Parents, I'm definitely going to go subscribe to this podcast and check out the book. So all right, we have a lot of people out there in my audience, that are kind of sitting on the fence and they're kind of rocking back and forth and they're either wanting to start or they've started and they've hit a roadblock or they've started and they want to go to the next level, but they're not quite sure. So they're kind of rocking back and forth on some fence. And the other side of the fence is the next thing they need to do, but they're not quite sure either how or what or why or what's going to work. That person that's rocking back and forth on the fence, what piece of advice would you give them?
Probably a lot of you guys have just said in the past, get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to recommend a book that's not even mine. It's one I read recently, but I consider it a game changer. I wish I had it years and years ago. It's called Profit First. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
No.
It's a mindset change for business owners and entrepreneurs. We've talked about, all right, you start the business and then we're going to pour everything we've got into it, whether it's money from my day job or every dollar that comes in, it's going back into the business. And, maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road, we'll turn this thing around, we'll sell it. Profit First is a mind shift change. When I read this, and it was very recently, it made me reevaluate how I run my current business and how I should have run prior ones. It's talking about take some money from the business as it comes in and pay yourself first. Enjoy what you're doing. And yeah, maybe it takes you a little bit longer to grow the business, but pay yourself first. Stay out of debt. Don't take on a bunch of credit cards to run your business or loans or whatnot. And enjoy it as you go along. And when you change that mindset from paying yourself first, you're reducing your stress, giving you more time, more opportunity to grow the business. Everyone that this guy interviewed, the author, I don't remember his name in this book, who implemented this system of paying themselves first and dividing how they manage up their money coming into the company, they just crushed it compared to what normal entrepreneurs do, fail at the 4 to 5 year mark. 80% of us do. Mm-hmm. I've run 8 businesses, 4 have been abysmal failures. Now, I'm not perfect. And I think this book makes you rethink the financial side of your business. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I think everyone should read this book. Profit First is the name of it.
Yes. That's exactly, in all those other businesses that I ran, the same mentality was there, just put it back in, keep it going. And this latest one, I have not done that. And from minute one, I've paid myself first, and it's making a huge difference. And so I'm going to go read that book just so I know why it's working. And I can keep doing it. All right. So Scott, tell us a little bit more about where we can find you and give us the name of your podcast again. And I think there's something about your book that you're going to talk about too, right?
Yes. My podcast is the Scott Alan Turner Show. If you can just Google Scott Alan Turner. I'm sorry. Search Scott Alan Turner in iTunes. It will show up. My website, scottalan, Turner.com/PE-Power. If you go there, we'll have the audio version of my book, 99 Minute Millionaire. That'll be free. You can go there and download it for free, as well as a couple other goodies that we're giving away. 11 Habits of Millionaires, things millionaires do every day that they've done to achieve great success. And one of my favorite guides, how to save $1,000 in 1 week. These are just little tips on how to address spending in your life where you can just save money. So who doesn't want free money?
So every person listening to my voice is a parent, and I don't know any parents who don't want to do all those things that you just listed in bonuses and free stuff. So, all right, Power Parents, you know where to go. And definitely go to that page, Scott Alan Turner, and that's ALAN Turner, TURNER .com/PE-Power. To get the audiobook and the freebies that Scott's talked about. And I have to say thank you really for solidifying all the things that you talked about, and they were my beliefs. They were. I immediately was going to have the wall come up if you were going to tell me all these investment little secrets that you can do and just go invest in this. I was going to have that wall come up, and man, I was going to basically nail you to it. So thank you for not having me do that, because you totally just solidified those beliefs that I already had, and shared them with my audience. And I so appreciate the time that you've taken to do that for us today. And I can't wait to see how the book does. And Power Parents, when you go to that page, please share with me how you felt after you listened to the book and got that information, and what you did with that first $1,000 that you saved in a week. So Scott, thank you so much for spending this time. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Mary. It's been a pleasure.
To get powered up for your day, just go to parententrepreneur.power.com and listen to any one of the over 100 episodes we've had so far with amazing entrepreneurs just like you. It might just help you feel like a grown-up again.